We have got a very special guest on the line. Holy smokes. You might know him. He's the guitar player of the legendary rock and roll group, the Biters. Mr. Matt Gabs is on the phone. Matt, how you doing this morning, baby?
I'm great, sir. How are you?
I'm doing sensational. I got some applause for you. That is for you.
I appreciate that.
You deserve. You've earned it. I want to thank you so much for being on the program. It's a monumental occasion for us, and it's great to have you.
Well.
It's great to have you here, baby. You are you're the lead guitar player in one of the groups that people are talking about all over the globe, the Biters.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. How long have you been in the Biters? The Biters have been going on for years. How long have you been doing this?
They started in 2009, and right when they started, they lost a member, so they couldn't do anything until I joined, and then we were able to start playing shows and tour all over the place. So I'd say late 2009.
You grew up in the Biters are from Atlanta, if I'm not
Yes, sir.
mistaken, but you grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. How did that?
I did.
How did you meet the guys? How did you decide? Well, I'm gonna wing it. I'm gonna be at practice in about 15 hours. How did you do that?
Yeah, exactly. Singer's old band, The Heart Attacks, my old band, Fishnet Stalkers. We both toured around like 2004, 5, 6 era, whatever. That's when we met, somewhere around there. It's a little blurry. But when those guys would come up to Baltimore, we would play with them. They'd come to our house and crash, and we'd stay up and party. And same thing down in Atlanta. We'd go down there and we'd play with them, and we'd have a great time afterwards. And we just kept in touch. And a few years after we both left those respective bands, I got an email from Tuck asking if I would be willing to check out some tunes he had and come down to Atlanta and audition because he needed a guitar player because he had this new band he wanted to do. And I was like, hey, listen, man, these songs are amazing, but I'm not going to move down because I just bought a house. So how about I make myself completely available, and I'll fly down whenever you need me, and we'll make it work. And we've been doing that for 9 years strong.
Holy smokes! So you fly down. When Tuck's got an idea, he just like, oh, I'm on Expedia right now. Let's get down there.
No. Well, we've been blessed in a digital age.
Right.
So
You've
song
been blessed.
ideas, they get emailed, they get demoed and emailed, and then I familiarize myself, come up with a cool little idea or something, bring it with me, send it back. However, but yeah, we're in constant communication. Thanks to modern technology.
That's great. I got to ask you. You grew up in Baltimore. You're a Baltimore.
Yes, sir.
You're a Baltimore kid. How did you end up gravitating towards rock and roll music in Baltimore?
In Baltimore, well, I mean, I was always into rock and roll. My parents, my mom and my dad, both listened to. My father more like Chuck Berry, Fats Domino, Little Richard. My mom more like Guns N' Roses and Leonard Skinner, stuff like that. So I grew up on rock and roll. I had cousins and stuff that were into, Nirvana and stuff. So in the early age, I was, turned on to all various forms of rock and roll and punk rock later, and moved to the city when I graduated high school, and the first people I met were rockers. So they took me under their wing. They were older, they're like 10 years older, and they kind of showed me the ropes, gave me some records. I listened to this kid, and it just took off from there.
And Baltimore, by the way, has just been, I guess, named the most dangerous city in America. And
we just recently got that, yeah.
As a proud title, I would imagine. Have you noticed an uptick in the violence there? And how would you describe Baltimore for, say, somebody who's never been there?
Okay, so I mean, it always kind of comes and goes in waves. It's always there as far as how intense the violence is. It always kind of comes in waves. I didn't actually notice this one. I was shocked when I saw we got #1 most dangerous. I was like, really? It seemed okay lately, but what do I know? I'm barely in town. So I guess I would describe it as it's not like one of those cities where there's the good part of town and the bad part of town. It's kind of like a checkerboard of good and bad neighborhoods. So to really enjoy the city, find someone that can help you navigate through the better parts of the city, so you don't have to subject yourself to the blinking blue light district where people are gonna, try to prey on the obvious out of towner.
So you're saying flag down a police officer and ask them?
Maybe, or just someone.
That's
Yeah. Start out in like a neighborhood like Hamden or Fells Point or Charles Village or something, and befriend someone there and ask them where should I check out from here, and which way should I take to get there.
So I'm going to do that. I was just there, but I just stayed near the airport. I'll be honest. So.
Oh man, you should have called me. I would have helped you out.
I would have loved to, baby. So I got to ask, So you mentioned you bought a house in Baltimore. So there's no plans for you to relocate to Atlanta, because I would imagine your life expectancy is just as high living in Atlanta as it is in Baltimore.
Yeah, right. Well, I guess if I didn't do it after 9 years, why do it now? I love Atlanta, and honestly, I'd probably make out better if I were to, shop for a house down there. But I want to stay close to Baltimore and my family and friends up here. And my girlfriend and I are actually currently living in Brooklyn, in Bed-Stuy. And so that's why I'm barely in Baltimore these days. I'm there like once a week for a couple days, but most of my time I'm in Brooklyn, so I'm even further away from Atlanta. So it's looking like it might not happen anytime soon. But like I said, we still make it work. Our new bass player lives in Nashville, Ricky Dover. He's got to travel a few hours too, so we're all spread out. So.
That you bring up a good question. You guys had a quick lineup change recently. Tell me, how did Ricky get into the group? What is the story behind the new lineup change in bass plays?
Okay, we got back from a killer tour with Blackberry Smoke, and that was in Europe for like 3 or 4 weeks, and it was great, and everything seemed to be going well. And then when we got home, we had another U.S. tour planned, and right when we announced it, our bass player told us, our bass player at the time, Phil, he was like, hey, I can't do that tour. I don't think I can do the band any longer. I need to focus on making money to sustain myself. He just got out of a relationship, and he had his own new apartment, and he was, just trying to focus on keeping the apartment and maintaining some kind of normalcy, working a normal job that, was consistent and, he could pay his bills with. I understand, I get it. I wasn't happy to hear that he was leaving, but I can't really argue with the man. So, so he left. So we're like, fuck, well, that sucks. I guess we got to find a bass player for this tour and or cancel it, and we didn't want to cancel it. So everyone put some feelers out, and Tuck reached out to Ricky Dover and was like, hey, I know you do a lot of music, and sometimes I see you on bass. Would you want to play bass in Biters? I know you're more of a guitar player. Honestly, he's probably a better guitar player. It's definitely a better guitar player than Tuck and I combined. So it's really strange to see him on bass. But he was up for the challenge. He was like, yeah, I don't get to play enough bass. Let's do it. It'll be fun. And he's been fucking awesome, man. He's super dedicated, focused, just super talented. It's been great. I love Ricky. I love having him in the band. It's kind of breathed a new life into it.
I was going to ask, how does the band feel? I mean, is it? Are you noticing certain things that weren't there before with Ricky in the group?
What I'm noticing is I wasn't aware of how maybe held back we were by our old bass player not being very happy in the band until we got a new bass player who's like the fresh, new, excited, let's go get it guy. And I just didn't realize what it could have been. I thought, like, yeah, this is pretty good where we are, like when we had Phil, but he wasn't happy. And, you might not notice it at the time, but if when someone's not happy, kind of there's little things throughout the day-to-day on a tour that kind of happen that kind of bring it down, even if you're not aware of it. And none of that was there on the last few tours we did with Ricky. And then that's when I realized, oh, shit, this is nice. Yeah, this guy's like really into it, really positive and wants to be here. And it feels good. I want to be here even more than ever now. It's great.
you guys just finished a tour not too long ago with him over in Europe, and the shows, from what I can see from the internet, were huge. And can you tell me a little bit about that tour and what the how the crowds were and that experience for you.
That tour was great. That was one of the best experiences tour-wise for the band, and I think everyone in the band agrees. Some of the biggest shows consistently that we got to play on a big support tour. I mean, every night was just sold out, packed at doors. Like, we went on to a full house almost every night, and their crowd was really warm to us. You don't always get that. Sometimes you're playing a sold-out 4,000 or 5,000 capacity venue to a room full of, like, just blank faces, just what the fuck is this? Hurry up and get off. I want to see the headliner I paid to see.
Right.
We didn't have that with him's crowd. They were really warm to it. They engaged. They applauded. They bought merch and came and said hey to us at the merch table afterwards, and it felt good. It felt like this is where we belong. It was good.
Any plans to work with him again in the future?
Well, that was him's final tour, so they are no longer going to be playing out as him anymore. So I guess that's it.
That is, well, geez, I guess. Well, that what an exciting experience, though, to be able to play on the final tour. I didn't even realize that was it.
Yeah, historic tour.
Wow. Well, congratulations on being a part of that. I want to say, there's a lot of talk on the internet about how, the Biters are they're a rock and roll, but they're a partying band. Would you say that you've got a reputation for being a partying band?
I would agree with the reputation, absolutely. A lot of that has to do with our music video concept choices in the past, and just things that might have happened on the road from certain members on a day off or something. But overall, for the most part, absolutely not. We're all very focused, and just got too much in our day-to-day lives to be fucked up and hungover all the time.
Right. So you guys also, this is pretty phenomenal. You were on the KISS KRUISE a couple of months back, and I got to ask you, what the hell is the KISS KRUISE like for those who've never been on a KISS boat? What was that experience like for you guys?
You know how, like, you find a favorite candy, and you get, like, you find, like, a $10 bill on the ground. You're a kid. You go to the store, and you just buy a shit ton of your favorite candy bars, and you go outside, and you eat them all back to back. Boom, boom, boom. By the time you get to that 10th candy bar, your teeth hurt, and your fucking stomach hurts, and you are sick to your stomach, and all you want to do is lie down. It's kind of like everywhere you turn. Kiss, 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 kiss. TV in the cabin. 30 channels. A kiss, kiss, kiss. It's like exciting as hell for like the first half, and then you're like, oh my God, I hope this cruise doesn't ruin my favorite band.
Right.
It's a lot of Kiss, man. You gotta love Kiss, because it's 5 days of Kiss. With that said, it was the shit, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. It was awesome.
Did you have
fans are crazy.
I was gonna say, did you have any intimate moments? Did you have a second to hang out with Gene or Paul or any of the guys in the group?
I got to meet Gene Simmons briefly because the guy who makes Tuck and I's guitar, Jim Kara at Kara Guitars, he works exclusively for Gene Simmons, making Gene Simmons' axes, what's it, like GeneSimmonsAxe.com or something. So he's tied into that world, and so he brought me back stage to some bass tutorial class that Gene Simmons was giving, and when they were done, I got to meet him for a second, give him a little fist bump. He called me handsome, and then we parted ways.
Wow. And no Paul Stanley, was he hiding out backstage somewhere? No,
I didn't see Paul except for one time on the first day when they did the like acoustic sail-off show.
Wow.
Just pretty cool. It was them doing classic like golden era Kiss set, all acoustic, but they didn't play it like you would adapt an electric song to acoustic.
Right.
They straight up ripped through on acoustic instruments as if it was like Kiss Alive, and leads and all. It was really weird. I was like, why didn't you just do this electric? It sounds like it wants to be electric.
It's funny because we also live in a time. I mean, thank God that these cruises weren't around in the time of, like, say, Motley Crue, because there'd be a lot more casualties at sea. I swear to God.
No, I don't think you could do that back then.
Yeah, like we're at the Jumbo's Clown Room stage, and
no, this is family friendly as hell, man. There was kids and shit. There was.
Is that right?
Couldn't have done that 40 years ago.
I was gonna say, so the Biters, you guys have been, a lot of fans, a lot of high profile fans of the group. The guys from Green Day, Cheap Trick, a lot of guys, Mark from Mudhoney, a lot of big name guys have cited you guys as being, the next coming of real legitimate rock and roll. I mean, have you gotten to meet some of these guys, some of the guys that, you looked up to growing up? Since you've been in the band and on tour, and if so, what has that been like for you?
It's surreal. I got to meet, we all got to meet Cheap Trick. We played with them in Atlanta a few years back, and then not too long ago, our singer actually interviewed Rick Nielsen, and following that interview, Cheap Trick played, and he got on stage and did Surrender with him. He just picked up one of Rick's many guitars and ripped the song with him. It was amazing. They're one of the biggest influences on myself and the whole band. And Billy Joe Armstrong, we played in Oakland with Degeneration, and Billy Joe Armstrong came to the show, and he had 2 T-shirts around his shoulder. So I was like, cool, maybe it's safe to go up and introduce myself. He seems to dig the band. I was like, hey man, huge fan, honored to meet you. I see you got some shirts. That's super cool, man. Can I give you a record? And he was like, oh, I already have all your records. And I was like pretty blown away by that.
Right.
That was one of the first tapes that changed my life. Dookie, when I was in elementary school, kind of fucked my world up, and I never went back.
That's incredible to be able to, to do this, and then to have that, to have your music kind of, go out and reach these people, and it comes back to you. It's got to be an insane feeling.
It's very validating, especially there's always ups and downs on the road, and whenever there's like a big down, I just think about those moments and feel like, no, you're on the right track. Just you'll get out of it.
We've got a mutual friend, our friend Petro. He told me a story about, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I have these facts wrong, but you guys actually did.
If Petro told you, I might be correct.
Right. But he told me that you guys actually did a tour with Scott Weiland of STP and Velvet Revolver that turned out to be maybe one of his last, his last tour. Tell me a little bit about that experience. Did you spend time with Scott? Did you?
Yeah. We spent a little time with Scott. That was a great tour. It was definitely a good time, and the whole band. I mean, he had Joey Castillo on drums, and just the tightest band, and it was a lot of fun. But it was a little bittersweet because you look up to these guys. They've had amazing careers, and touring with Scott. It was a little sad at times because he was struggling with substance and drinking a lot more than he should, and some shows were great and some were not so great, and the fans definitely voiced that after the show. It was weird. He would try to actually reach out and hang out with us, but I was sober on that tour, and being around that was kind of not something I was trying to do at that time.
Sure.
Doing like a sober tour around someone who's just constantly messed up on something was hard enough. Hanging out with that would have just been too much. So I respectfully declined every time he was like, you want to get a drink next door? I'm like, I'm good, man. But I think some of the other guys might have hung out with him a little. But I kind of kept my distance. I was trying to keep my nose clean.
Right. And did you notice, like, you obviously said there were some highs and lows with his performancing, but did you notice, that there were signs that, maybe that this guy was in trouble, and that, that it would be his last tour?
I mean, looking back, it's a lot easier to be like, oh yeah, but at the time, no, not at all. I mean, I had played with him in another band, probably 10 or 11 years ago, and he looked and acted the exact same way. So I was just under the impression this is Scott, you know.
Right.
This is
He's
Scott
Superman.
Weiland.
He's going to live
Right.
forever.
Gonna live forever like this.
Gosh. And where were you when you got the news that he had passed away?
So 4 days after we left the tour, because we didn't do the whole tour with them, we did like a couple weeks, and then we kind of stopped in the Midwest while they continued. 4 days after, I was in my apartment in Brooklyn, and all of a sudden my phone is blowing up with texts with people going, oh my God, I'm so sorry to hear. Sorry to hear. Let me know if you need anything. I'm like, what the fuck are they talking about? And then I get into my phone and I see, Scott Weiland passed away. And I was like, holy crap. And why are all these people asking me if I'm all right? I just toured with the man. I wasn't like
In a relationship.
with him. I mean, it's always upsetting to hear anyone pass away, but I was a little surprised at how many people asked me if I needed anything.
Right.
I'm okay. I think the family could use some help, but I'm okay.
You got to use that opportunity to get some free stuff.
I should have, like, I could take a guitar or something.
Right. That would help ease the burden. How many months out of the year are you on the road, either touring here or touring in Europe? I mean, you guys seem to be on the road always doing tours. How often do you guys go out?
I mean, most of the time we're touring half the year. Sometimes it slows down around like recording time.
Right.
I mean, it definitely slows down when we're like in the studio and stuff, or writing, and like when Tuck's like locking himself in his attic and just like chipping away in his woodshed, writing riffs and demoing songs and stuff. We're not taking tours, so we were touring a lot recently because we were promoting our last release. The future ain't what it used to be.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. Right now, we don't have any tours coming up. We've been offered a couple, but we weren't really able to take the ones that we were offered. So just a festival in March 3rd in San Antonio, and maybe a couple other festivals this summer, maybe. I'm not sure. It's all like up in the air, but no tours yet. Not that I know of. We're still waiting.
Well, so you got the two releases, the Electric Blood and as you mentioned, the Future Ain't What It Used to Be. Are you guys currently working on new material? Has that been thrown around? Do you have plans to do a new record this year?
Always working on new material. I mean, Tuck's main songwriter, and he never stops writing. He's always writing. So yeah, he's probably got two full lengths really written, but can't really do much. We're kind of in the middle of something with our label that can't really go into too much detail, but we're just waiting. We're just waiting to find out when we can get back into it and put some new music out there.
When you guys are on the road, it seems like it's kind of night after night and performing and obviously hanging out and doing the promotions, doing the interviews and stuff. What's the hardest thing for you guys when you're on the road?
Hardest thing for me, sleep. That's kind of goes without saying when you're on the road.
Right.
But I think the hardest thing for us as a group is finding a place we can all agree on to eat that caters to everyone's dietary restrictions. We got 2 vegans, 2 vegetarians, and a drummer who eats meat but is on board with the vegetarian cuisine if that's what everyone he's pretty just like whatever you guys decide, I'll make it work.
Right.
But sometimes depending on where you are, you can't always find that killer vegan cafe in like the Midwest somewhere.
You know what? I got to be honest. If that is the worst thing on being on the road, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, because we don't really have any like drug abuse or like anything going on with members in the band right now.
Right.
So that's the worst thing we have to deal with on a day-to-day. It's not a bad life, I guess.
Right. I mean, it's incredible the success that you guys have had, and you're building and building and playing with these huge groups, and you're getting these accolades from. I mean, lifers in the rock and roll entertainment field. How do you process the success of the group and trying to avoid missteps and keeping the growth going?
Um, it's not a bad question. I'm trying to think of a good answer.
Take your time, baby.
Yeah, I don't know. I try to keep most things in my life pretty organic and try not to force anything that doesn't want to be. So it all just seems to fall into place when we come together. And I don't know. Sometimes I don't really know how we've gotten some of the thing. Like, well, I mean, of course I know, but I don't know. We've been very fortunate and very focused.
I mean, I don't know have you done headlining tours in Europe? I've seen you've done a lot of support with a lot of big name groups, but have you been able?
Yeah, we've done a couple. We've also done support tours where we branch off and continue on our own and stuff like that. Financially, it's a little easier for us to do the big support tours.
Right.
It's a little bit more consistent. You can plan before you even leave around what you'll make and what you might make on merch and what it's going to cost. When you're doing like the small club headline tours, some places it's like a back end deal, and maybe that was a bad night of the week to play in, I don't know, Hamburg, and only 30, 40 people make it out, and I don't know. Sometimes for the most part it's amazing, but still doesn't always generate as much money as like the big support tours where
Right.
you're selling a lot in merch and you're getting a guarantee consistently and you can plan around it. And yeah, it's a little easier doing it that way.
How do you define success?
Just being happy and proud of what you've done and being able to live a somewhat easy and happy life while doing it. I would call that success. I don't have any delusions of grandeur as far as the band goes. I accepted in high school that I wasn't going to buy my parents a house off rock and roll, but as long as I can pay my bills and find time to do things that make me happy and spend time with my girlfriend in between, I would call that a success.
A lot of people think, rock and roll is a dying art. It is a thing that's on the way out. Obviously, technology changing things, and of course, corporate, the labels and things are not. The music industry is just changing. It has been changing. What is the landscape of rock and roll? I mean, you're out there every night. What is it like for you? Are you worried about the future of rock and roll?
Well, I was for a while. I mean, forever it seemed to not have gone away, but taken a step out of the spotlight for a few years. It was always there. It was just in bad shape, but it was still going. And lately, it feels like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's kind of coming full circle again, and more younger bands are popping up, kind of raising the rock and roll flag. Lots of throwback influences in there that I'm hearing, and it's exciting. And I hope more bands pop up like that and put the rock and roll that I love back on the map and in front of the masses.
That's a great point of view to have, because I feel like it's a shame to, when you experience a live show and you see the guys on the group, on the stage, just kind of making this magic organically. There's something powerful about that when you see a great.
And that's rock and roll to me. Not contrived, not someone behind the curtain writing your songs and telling you what to wear and where to stand and how to look and move, and just a vibe between 3 or 4 or 5 people on stage, just loving life with each other, and nothing else matters. You don't see enough of that anymore, but I'm starting to see more and more. And I feel like we have that, and we've had that for a while with our band. And it's exciting to see more bands pop up with that. When you watch them on stage, they're not just going through the motions. They want to be up there. They worked hard to get there, and they're just relishing in it. It's great.
Right. Well, the Biters are one of those groups. I mean, it's when you watch you guys play, the real love for rock and roll is evident. I think that's kind of why the success that you guys have experienced is there, because it's very authentic. That's why like guys like in Cheap Trick and these bands are giving you the thumbs up and giving you the nod.
Eddie, real recognizes real.
Baby, you nailed it. I got you know what? And judges, they're gonna accept that for $300 charity cash. Well, Matt Gabs, I gotta say it has been a pleasure having you on the program. I don't know why we didn't do it earlier, but it is a special privilege to have you on, especially for the 300th episode of the Eddie Winters Rock and Roll Coup d'Etat. I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day and speaking with me.
Thank you.
You got it, baby.
Yeah.
And also, when you guys come out next time you're in the San Francisco Bay Area of California, make sure that you give me a call. I'd love to get you guys back on the program and talk about what's happening when you're on the road again.
Deal. I love it.
Sounds great. Well, Matt Gabs, again, thank you so much for being on the program, and let's keep in touch, baby.
I love it. Thank you, man.
You got it, baby. There it is. Matt Gabs, baby, from the Biters.